Good morning, everyone, and welcome to On the Sofa with Sophia. I'm your hostess, Sophia Haas-Tingy, and today we're not actually broadcasting out of Flash TV studios. However, we will be distributing through syndication later on. Today is Friday, December 9th. I am broadcasting today from the Washington, D.C. Hilton, where they're having the LGBT Leadership Conference, which kicked off yesterday, is going to be going on for the next couple of days here. So hopefully you'll be hearing a lot of good news that's come out of this conference by the time you're watching this video. So let's start with, before I left Salt Lake City area and Midvale, the huge topic, of course, and news, politics, and events is currently centered around the homelessness issue. From a meeting that we had with the sheriff, Sheriff Winder of the Salt Lake County Police Department, to also an initiative that the community council did in helping in a donation to the homeless shelter in Midvale, Utah. So basically, to start with, there was a lot of discussion essentially around the homelessness community in the speech given by Chief Winder at the Women's Democratic Club this last weekend. And one of the concerns that they've been having to deal with is the predatory behavior of some individuals to come and take advantage of the homeless community. So they had a lot of drug deals, drug interactions, and so over a period of time, there's been a lot of effort and time working and focusing on one of the larger parks in the area that people were complaining about all the drug use that was going on. And the difficulty that they had to deal with was trying to determine, of the people that were homeless, how many of them were active drug users, how many of the people were actually just drug users and not homeless people, and, how to do the best humane way to address the issues and the concerns. What they found out when they went in is, most of the people that were dealing drugs when they were arrested were not homeless at all. In fact, a lot of the people were actually coming in. They would go out and panhandle on the streets for money, take the money, come back up, buy drugs, distribute the drugs, and then they would go off and take advantage of the shelters, which is causing more of an influx in the shelters for the actual people that are without homes. Would be less likely to be able to get shelter during the storms. The other thing that we're looking at as far as the homeless population is realizing that these are people that are just temporarily without homes, and what we need to do is to get them as quickly as possible into homes where it's been discovered that the best way to handle people that have issues that have made them homeless is to first of all get them back into homes, and then you can deal with the issues. So this is very, very complex issues. So they essentially had a kind of a sweep of the area after lots of months of study, in which they essentially went to anybody that was dealing drugs and said, okay, you have the opportunity, you can either go into treatment and demonstrate that you're going through treatment, or we're going to throw you in jail. Of most of those people that decided they were going to go through the treatment, 9 out of 10 of them are actually sustaining, which means that they are getting off of the drugs, and one of the issues that can help lead to homelessness or keep people on homelessness. So this has actually been a very good process, and is helping, trying to get those people that are temporarily without homes, get them into the shelter system, in which I really honestly believe needs to be recalled Transitional Housing Unit Assistance program. Yes, sheltering is a part of that, especially during the cold or inclement weather months. But the next phase, like they're doing at the Road Home in Midvale, is they get people in, and one of the first things they do when they get people in is to sit them down with a caseworker who directs them to the appropriate people to help them get themselves reestablished. There are some population that is homeless because they have been formerly incarcerated. In this culture, in our society, a lot of employers will not hire somebody even if they've already served their time, even if it's been for a minor offense. Well, it's arguably a minor offense. For instance, somebody who just get caught in a drug sweep or a drug bust with a little bit of marijuana in their pocket, suddenly finds himself convicted as a felon, and whether or not they serve time, they now have a felony against their record, which means with the current good landlord programs, they can't find housing, and with a lot of employers, including some like some fast food restaurants, they have a box on there that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And they're put in a bind. They either have to lie, which then if it comes back is grounds for termination, or they have to say, yes, they did have a felony against them, and a lot of employers, if they see that box has been checked, they won't hire them at all. So when it comes to this area, there's a lot of marginalized communities that have been targeted, including our Latino populations, other populations of color. LGBT populations have been routinely swept into these areas because of societal pressure. They have turned to drug use as one of the ways of dealing with things. So, it's definitely something that this is a humane thing that needs to be done. So definitely, I personally support Ban the Box initiatives. Representative Sandra Hollins is going to run a Ban the Box bill again this year. So I'm looking forward to that as we go forward. The Community Council of Midvale, of which I'm the vice chair, this last week was invited to the Road Home, which is in Midvale, which is the family overflow shelter. And there's only two major shelters in the state of Utah. One is downtown Salt Lake City. The other is the overflow shelter in Midvale, where we take on families. One of the difficulties that we have at that shelter is that we don't have a lot of the social services that help support these families in need, these families that are without homes. But while we were there, because the community council had donated $500 that we raised through the Harvest Days breakfast to the Road Home, the Road Home actually wanted to make an event out of it. So we were invited there and given a tour of the Road Home while we were there. And this space that they have now used to be a repurposed warehouse, and over the last year it was torn down and rebuilt. They now have basically individual kitchenettes that are part of a main larger kitchen area where families can come in and actually prepare food. There's refrigerated units, so these families aren't forced to try to take whatever earnings that they have and go the expensive route of only fast food, which becomes the only option if you have no place to actually store, keep, and prepare your own food. They have a lot of community support. There's a lot of restaurants and organizations that make sure that they come and cook a meal for the people that are staying there. They have roughly 300 people that are staying in this shelter. They are looking for, at this point, anything warm, gloves, shoes, any size shoes for men or women to the Road Home. They are coats, blankets, anything to help keep them warm. They've also started up an initiative where they offer preschool services in the morning for the mothers to help take care of their kids. One of the things that this helps deal with is trauma, intergenerational trauma that occurs of the children of families who are going through these transitional crises. So it also gives a little bit of stress relief to the parents to know that they can focus on whatever they need to focus on to help bring their lives back in shape while their children are going through normal preschool services. And I'm hoping that we also can put some Head Start programs into place in the shelter as well. The old shelter, as it was a warehouse, it's like as soon as you walked in, you'd have one main living area, one wide open floor that had a bunch of cots and no privacy to it. They've actually, in the new shelter, they actually put the living area elevated up a floor, and it has a little bit more privacy, but it's not anymore that you wouldn't find on a Navy ship, for instance, where they have bunk beds, and then the bunk beds are arranged so that they can try to keep family units down one particular aisle of a bunk bed. They do have issues that if one child's not feeling well, is feeling sick, they can wind up keeping a lot of people up in the night. So one of the things I would like to do is to see what we can do to maybe get something for the walls. Maybe we can get some kind of soundproofing material to kind of absorb some of the sound there. So if anybody is willing to donate that kind of material to the road home, please contact them and let them know. It's definitely something that they could really use. There's still ongoing process and work to try to make the area around the shelter safer. There is a tracks line that runs directly in front of the shelter. They're trying to work with the Department of Transportation of Utah so that they can actually have some safe crossing for that area, as well as continuing to enclose the playground. They've had wonderful work with the community police officer in that area. So everything is going forward, and it's just going to take some time to get everything built up. When they built the shelter, they had built it as just an inclement weather shelter, and they thought they were going to have to spend $250,000 to just put air conditioning in the shelter. Turns out that the people building it decided, you know what, they're going to find out that they need this anyways, so they installed it for them already, so all they had to do was turn it on. So thank you to the developers that actually did this work, that saw it in the goodness of your heart to put that extra effort and that money there for the road home, even though you took it out of your own pocket. So there are good developers out there that pay attention to community needs, and we just need to make sure that they know who we are, they know their communities, and the communities know them, and that we can build a strong, better city in all the cities that we live in. So this weekend, I am at the LGBT Leadership Conference, where, while I'm not quite elected yet, they decided they would honor me as an elected official, and they gave me, here's the tag right here, because I had already declared as a candidate for mayor in Midvale, Utah. And I want to thank my friends because it enabled me to participate in a closed-door session with a number of LGBT elected officials while we discussed where we want to go from here, given that we're not going to be able to make the progress. We don't foresee that we're going to be able to make the progress that we've been making over the years. So there's some strategies that are coming out of that. It was closed door. I can't really report on exactly what was decided behind those doors. But, you know, I can issue guidance a little bit to let you know that there are some guidelines on how to work forward to try to make sure that we keep the protections that we have, we don't slip backwards, and we work hard to help make this a better place, a more welcoming place for everyone, despite your religion, your national heritage, your immigration status, any of that. We all have to come to work together, and we have to stand firm, and we